Well, hello. Welcome back. I say that like you've been gone, and I'm the one that's been gone, so I apologize for that. But I don't really actually mean that. My dog just came in. Chill out, dude. Been doing some traveling. I had my grandkids living with me for about 5 weeks for the summer. Took them back to Washington State. I've never been up there before, so we did some sightseeing, things like that. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make a video about that because that's kind of a family time, but usually when I'm going, it's family stuff. So when it's family or YouTube, sorry, I like you guys, but family first. So another cool thing I got to go do, I went to my, it was a military unit that I was in, the one that I was in when we invaded Iraq, and we had a reunion this year, and went to that this past week. Wonderful event, cool new shirts, got our unit emblems on the guys' arms, Uncle Sam's arms and stuff like that. Cool. So got to see a bunch of the guys I haven't seen before, haven't seen them in 19 years. Next year's our 20th reunion, but I digress. The reason we're here. So I got a new scope. I told you guys about it. Burris RT6, it's a nice scope. I like it. I haven't shot it yet, and I'm not going to. I can't wrap my head around needing this thing. I've been gaming around the house a little bit with it, LARPing, whatever you want to call it. It's not something that I feel like I'm going to be able to use. I reluctantly bought it because I'm not a fan of LPVOs in general, but it was a good deal, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. I don't even like walking around and using it in the house. The glass is fine. The reticle's great. I just really don't see me using it. So I'm gonna box it back up and sell it. I'm gonna put my primary arms back on there, my SLX MD25. I like it. I'm gonna get a kill flash for the front because that's, I get it. I'm not gonna be using this as a defense weapon. Generally speaking, you're gonna be using your pistol as a defense weapon. I just like kill flashes because that's kind of like the first aim point I got in the Army at my M68 on my M4. Oh, we felt so cool. Light infantry, getting all this stuff to make our gear heavier, but it was so much easier to use than iron sights. And the red dot was amazing. It was a great product, and we had the kill flashes on there. So it's just a bit of nostalgia for me. But if you haven't seen the SLX MD25 from Primary Arms, I definitely recommend watching some other videos on it. I haven't done a video on it in over a year, but this thing's going strong. And I had battery problems in the beginning, but I'm sure they just ship with cheap batteries. This battery's been going strong. I've left it on for a couple of months at a time on medium, and it's fine. But really big window. A lot of them the micro red dots are smaller than I like. And if you haven't guessed, this is kind of about optics and how I'm going to use them. So I probably should have prefaced this whole video with what the crap I was going to talk about. But here we are a couple of minutes into it, and I just barely told you. You're probably used to that by now if you've been on my channel very long. So anyways, I like this sight. So I'm going to put it back up here. Sorry, I'm moving really weird. I can't lift my shoulder up. It's from my rotator cuff. I don't even know how. So I'm going to reach down and grab this. Like I was saying, I like this, but as you can see, this is not a long barrel. It's a 12.5-inch barrel, and I like to be honest about things, and I like to be factually correct about things, although I'm not always. This 12.5-inch does not carry the ballistics it needs to be effective, because that's a stupid term. Effective, I don't want to get shot by a pencil. That's basically what would happen beyond a couple hundred yards with this. And so, unless I change my ammo. And so, that's not something that this rifle's built for. So I don't really need this in my head. If I need something that is for longer range, then, I don't know, I'm comfortable to 300 to, I'll say 300 yards with a red dot, then I'm gonna go look for something in a low or a medium power variable optic, I guess is the new term, LPVO, MPVO, and HPVO, whatever. I think people come up with these terms so you'll buy their crap. This is a Bushnell Engage 2.5 to 10. It's MOA, it's got an MOA reticle, second focal plane, so the reticle does not change size, it stays the same size. Meaning that if you want to accurately range something with your reticle, or have the subtensions be correct in your reticle, it needs to be at 10 power. It's not a very high power. However, I have shot this rifle and another rifle with this on it, my Sig Cross, to 1,200 yards using this scope effectively. And so it's a good scope. The price point on this was $399 at the time. I think Midway still had, actually Midway doesn't have these anymore. Bushnell, I think they're $299. I picked it up for $189. What a deal. Like for $189, I don't think there's a scope on the market that beats this. Push-pull turrets, so they lock. It does not have a zero stop. So the other thing I really like about this, if I need to reset my zero, I twist the top of the cap a couple times, pull that off, it comes right off. It's not zeroed, so I don't care about how it sets back. That is how easy this scope is to use. It is super, super simple. I love this scope. You know, this optics thing got in my head this week because I was looking at trading this in, not trading it in, but selling it, selling that one, putting them together, buying a more expensive scope for this rifle. But the more expensive scope was 8 ounces heavier, or 7 ounces heavier. And I was like, what's the trade-off here? And it was a 2-to-12, which I'd get 2 more power on the top end, but it's barely noticeable. Maybe had a better reticle and it was illuminated, which I don't really shoot past proper illum. And I don't want to say daylight, you know, legal hunting hours, whatever. It's different everywhere. But when it's properly illuminated during the day where I can see good enough to shoot an animal, this scope is totally usable. And this is on my 18-inch 6.5 Grendel from Palmetto State with a Spikes lower. I've had that lower for years and finally built something with it. So all that being said, what works for me may not work for you. What works for me is 100 to 300 yards max with my short barrel here, which it is a registered short barrel. So anything under 16 inches, if it's not pin and welded to 16 inches, is a short barrel, which brings me to the last topic. Lots of talk online. I'm just going to get a 14.5 and pin and weld it instead of a 16 because it moves better. Bullshit. You cannot convince me that it moves better. Like Marines were clearing buildings with 20-inch M4 or M16 A4s for years before they moved to the M4. You know, they were moving just fine. I think the contour of the barrel has more to do with maneuverability. I don't think pinning and welding a 14.5 to 16 makes it any more maneuverable because you're putting a longer flash hider and slash muzzle device, whatever kind of muzzle device you want, making it longer, adding weight because they are kind of thick, they are a little heavy. I don't think you're saving that much weight as opposed to getting a shorter muzzle brake and or flash hider combo or separately and adding it to a 16. I mean, you're probably saving 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch at best. And so unless somebody's got some empirical data that shows a 16-inch with a muzzle device similar to what you pinned and welded to make it a 16-inch move slower, I'm not going to buy it. And they would have to be similar, you know, cuts and all that. I'm just not buying it. So back to my dilemma was that now makes this obsolete for me. So it's going. I'm going to put the red dot back on here. I'm going to put a kill flash back on there. And I'm going to focus, for me, what is the most relevant with the research that I've done, with the reading that I've done, with the information that's out there that I've gathered, is that almost every single instance, almost, because you can't say empirically like that is every time, almost every single instance, a defensive situation is confronted with and solved with a handgun. And so for me, I'm going to go back to what I was doing with this rifle. I'm going to train harder with my pistol. I'm going to become more proficient with my pistol and reload and buy more ammo for my pistol. And I'm looking at starting some IDPA and USPSA on the light side. I'm not going to get too involved in the environment there, but I want it for repetition, for usage. I want to be able to go out and use my gun, use my handgun for what it's intended for, presentation, IDPA for presenting around barriers, USPSA just for running the gun. And I think that will be the best training that I could do for a defensive scenario. And with that, I think that's all I brought out here to talk about. But I just been mulling over, man, why did I buy this scope? And so, maybe you've got something that you have in your gear, in your arsenal, in your gear closet, whatever it may be, that you question. Well, if you're questioning it, you probably don't need it. And you could probably use the money from that object to train harder, train better, train smarter, up a piece of gear later. Like to upgrade from this, I may be going in the sort of near future to an aim point because it is stronger, it's more durable, things like that. But then I start factoring in warranties and all that good stuff, price per, yeah. You can't really say it's price per awesomeness or price per warranty or whatever. You know, I don't know what the comparison there would be, because if you know me, I didn't script this. I just sit down and be like, oh, I got an idea. I'm going to film it. But I want a better red dot, but I still want a big window. And that's the dilemma, because most of them don't have the old 30 millimeter windows like they used to. And if they do, they're heavy. That one's like 11 or 12 ounces all included. It's going to get heavier because I want to mount it higher. I need it to be a tad bit taller. I have some herniated discs that are bothering me, so when I shoot a lot, you know, getting down behind a rifle is not fun. Even this was a little low. This is a cheap mount because I wanted to see if I even liked using the scope, and here we are. I'm gonna sell it. So there's your challenge. Check your gear, check yourself, see what needs to be worked on. Work the handgun. Pat Mack said it best. He said, just because you're a good rifle shooter doesn't make you a good pistol shooter. The group guys, the CAG, Delta, and the team guys would be, you know, the SMU guys would be masters of the pistol because that translated to the rifle. I'm not a master of my pistol, and I need to be, so that's what I'm going to work on. And with that, stay tactical.